From the Shooting from the Lip studio in Louisville, Kentucky, it's the KT Unearthly Show with your hosts, Kevin Hale and Tiffany Mac.
What is up? Kevin Hale up in this house, the Shooting from the Lip studio house. It's Friday night, August 12th, 2016. It's the latest and greatest version of the KT Unearthly Show, as I'm joined here by my paranormal Pop-Tart, Tiffany Mac. Tiffany, what's up?
Other than trying to figure out if we're going to have a guest tonight, it's been a very eventful, hot, sweltering day, and we actually, my daughter's been at camp this week, and she got to bring home a puppy. So, so we've got a puppy screaming in my basement right now because it doesn't want to be in the cage. But my brother's going to adopt it. So, no, not my dog. No.
Not yours.
It's a rental.
So it's a lease before you. That's nice.
Exactly.
Did she
you had an eventful week with your dog.
I didn't even want to go there. Yeah, I did. Let's just say he's doing pretty good. He's not licking his wound, which is a good thing. He got snipped on his 9th birthday yesterday. I don't know if this might be the bad part that Queen told me not to talk about. He got his vegetables. The meat is still there, but the 2 veggies are gone. So,
poor buddy.
And on his birthday. So,
what happens when you run away?
It does. And
you start chasing tail and you get in trouble.
I know. I'm surprised I have found my way home after all these years, but I still manage. Anyways, enough about vegetables and tails. Our show, you can find us on social media. You can subscribe to our show on iTunes and YouTube. Twitter at The Shooting Lip. Tiffany is at Tiffany Mac _ET. I'm at Kevin Hale 423. You can like us, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Shooting from the Lip, and the Facebook KT Unearthly Show page. Live tonight via Blog Talk Radio. Our guest, will we have a guest tonight? Remains to be seen. But I've got a few things that we can talk about, and we'll go from there. One of the things that we do to kick off the show, TK Foreplay, and you sent a very cool story to me, and what this is, and I've heard of it.
You're going to have to remind me. You're going to have to remind me what the story was.
That's all right. It's the phantom phone calls from beyond the grave. Mm-hmm. That is supposedly these do happen regularly, where these people claim to get these ghostly calls. Have you had any calls from someone that was on the other side of the ground?
Actually, since Queen Colleen is online, we can discuss something that happened between the two of us. Back when, my grandmother passed away, and it was probably like 1992, 3, something like that. And I was about 13 years old. Well, 2 years later, on my 15th birthday, I had a visit from her in the middle of the night. She sat on my bed, and I woke up, and I was like, "Grandma, what are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, I just wanted to tell you that I've watched you grow, and when she died, she had breast cancer, and it just ate her up. Within 4 months, she had passed. But I was in the middle of learning. I was running cross country and track, and I was really, really working hard and putting in 8-9 miles a day. I really wanted her to see my first race before she passed. Well, so she said, I know that you've been working really hard, and I just want you to know that I've been watching over you. And she said, I really wanted to thank your mom for how she ended up raising you, because my parents got divorced when I was young, and I think it caused a lot of commotion, as divorces do. So it was always a question with my family, like going from one situation to the next. You never really know how that family is going to treat the child that gets taken in a divorce or a remarriage. So I really did feel like she was there. I felt the love, I felt the admiration and the respect that she had. Well, let me see. The next morning, I go downstairs and my mom is starting breakfast. I had the most incredible experience last night. And she said, me too. And I was just like, well, let me tell you my story. So as soon as I told her my story, then she came in with her own. What was your story, Miss Colleen?
Wow.
Well, I basically had the same thing.
Except it was through a phone call.
It was through, right.
Oh, wow. So you had the same message or the same visit message?
Same message,
voice?
But it was through a phone call.
So your mom heard your grandmother, Tiffany, through the phone.
Which was her ex-mother-in-law, correct. Tell them exactly what happened, though.
It rang and you said hello.
I don't think I can talk. Yeah, it's pretty scary. That's another scary thing for me.
Oh, my God.
You need to tell the story, Tiff.
It's not scary when it's your ex-mother-in-law who took care of you and loved you, and she told you that she appreciated the fact that you took such good care of me.
Yes. It's just very spooky and very weird. It's just we have weird coincidences, and I don't really believe in coincidences. So I've told you that before, Kevin. So it's just
I'm with you.
Strange how this happens. Yeah.
But we both had this
basically the same thing, you know. Yeah.
We both had this feeling that she was really contacting us, and there was an actual message that was being passed on, and it was a confirmation of how my mom
Everything's okay.
Everything's okay, and she was happy that I was being taken care of.
Tiffany, the message when she appeared to you and gave you the message, it was a direct message to you, as if she's talking to you, or was it is kind of like
she was there.
Message?
My grandmother was sitting on my bed. I woke up and she was sitting on my bed, and it was my birthday. I just turned 15. It was my birthday, so it was like my birthday surprise, I guess.
Your grandmother, but this is your like blood relative, right?
Yeah,
this is
my dad's mom.
Your dad's okay.
Yeah, my dad's mom. Yeah.
Wow, good Lord.
Why? Have you had any messages?
She was a very spiritual woman. She didn't go to church, but very spiritual.
No, I've never had. I don't recall, but I don't think I've really had. I mean, I've had dreams of like, my sister or grandmother or something like that were so realistic or very. I don't think I've not woken up to someone talking to me. So that's me. That's not how I'm wired. So that's how I get this, because you guys are wired that way. You all have a connection with something else, with a, some spiritual force, a alien force. That's in your all's genetic makeup. So.
Well, it is, and it's a strange thing to get to the point where we admit, but when it comes down to it, you're not alone. I mean, isn't that the X-Files theme, is you're not alone and the truth is out there? You have to find your own truth. I cannot sit here and wait for someone to tell me what is actually going on with me or my family, because they're not in my shoes. They don't live with us. They don't experience daily life. They don't experience all of the waking and sleeping hours that we do. So, it's an interesting path that we're on, but I think that eventually everyone will have something in their life that will make them think, maybe there is something more to this whole spiritual side, and it's not just this physical realm that we live in. I think that there's more to it. So
it's safe to say that you haven't per se found what you're looking for or what you're destined for. You don't think you've come to that conclusion or answer?
No, I think, nobody has all the answers. I mean, I've got some of my answers that, I mean, it's an acceptance more than more than a question at this point. It's like, okay, well, there was a question to begin with, and now I've got answers, and now I just have to believe and trust in those answers.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that's what I'm yeah, you're right. You're getting answers along the way, but are you still asking questions?
Always.
Is there still, okay. So there's still things that you're needing to know.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you've experienced a lot. So that's what I'm getting at, is that from what our conversations that you've been there and done that a lot more than me or other people. So
what's funny is I may not be experiencing it more, but I may be more aware of it.
Fair enough. That's a good point.
Because a lot of people don't pay attention to the signs.
That's true. Messages are there,
and a lot of people don't
every day.
Yeah, the messages are sometimes given, but you know, if you don't pay attention to them, if you don't have this conversation like my mom and I share, we have a conversation. She doesn't want to hear everything I have to say, you know, but you know, when it comes down to it, if you don't share the information, you're not going to get that confirmation. Like she and I had the same experience, just slightly varied, because her message was it was a phone call. Is what she said. She said, I got a phone call from your grandmother in the middle of the night. Of course, she'd been dead for 2 years. And then it's like, okay,
that's
well,
a good, it's in the middle of the night. So that's one other question. So this was there a certain time? Is it like, or wait a minute, it was the same night, correct?
No, it was the same night. Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you the time. I mean, it was, no. I don't know. I have no idea. Do you know, Mom?
You knew it was after you were asleep. So it was later in the night.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely was in bed. I was in bed, and I woke up to my grandmother sitting on the bed. Yes, it was in the middle of the night. So instead of her just taking a little walk down the hallway, my mom had a dream that she called her on the phone. And I think it's just different ways of identifying with the spirit. You know, they'll come to you in a way that is less intimidating, or, you know, with me, I don't have a problem waking up to somebody being in the room with me. I'm like, okay. And then with her, you know, she probably would have gotten scared to death and had a heart attack if somebody was sitting on her bed trying to talk to her.
Wait, so for the record, this wasn't a real phone call. She dreamt the call. Or was it a real call?
I don't know. Was it?
Right.
I don't know. Ask her.
Well, was it,
right,
Colleen?
Yeah, I dreamt it. Right.
You dreamt it. Okay.
Right. But I felt like I actually got it.
You got the same message as Tiffany got. So there's that connection, which is
right. So what is the point of this? What are you thinking?
You asking me or Tiffany?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Oh.
Yeah.
The point is that you guys are fortunate, in this case, lucky, to be able to connect with a life force outside of, or somewhere else, not in our real world. And you know, that's have you all tried to talk to certain people to try to see what else you could do, try to find ways to enhance it? Maybe there's things about you guys
No, but people who know us personally know that things happen. I had an incident today that is very strange. I'm kind of hesitant to tell you this. But I have a sister who's traveled I have a niece who's my godchild, who is a dietitian, registered dietitian. And my sister is at her house as we speak. And today I got funny feelings about my sister. And I said, do you carry your weapon with you? Because she travels alone a lot to go see my niece, which is her daughter. And she said, no, I don't have my concealed weapon carry. I said, okay. It wasn't a half an hour. She texted me and her daughter and my sister and said someone followed her car and tried to get her money. Honest truth. And I had weird feelings about her. And if it wouldn't have been because of me putting her on the guard, she wouldn't have known what to do.
Did she have? So did she pull her?
She didn't
letter?
have anything with her, but she was kind of, because I had called her, I made her aware. She was on her guard.
Yeah.
Because I kind of spooked her. Well, isn't that freaky though, Kevin? I mean, you tell me. I think it's freaky.
There's some level of.
If you know me and Tiffany and my family well enough, this happens all the time. It's just weird. And I've told you, my husband's an educated man. When I tell him things he doesn't want to hear it, I don't want to hear about it.
He doesn't want to hear about it.
It's spooky to me. No,
he doesn't want to hear about
spooky.
it because it scares him, and not that he doesn't.
Yeah, it freaks him out.
Downplay.
Yeah. It's spooky. It's spooky to me. It sounds crazy. It's just.
But I guess
spooky.
here's my thing too. Because this has gone on for years, correct?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
and what's weird is my father was like that, but my mother wasn't and isn't.
Right.
My dad passed away in March. You knew that. But my mother isn't like that, but my dad was.
Yeah.
I think it's more on your father's line.
Right. What about his parents? How far does it go back?
His parents, I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
Well, one of his oldest sisters was a contactee. She had many sightings of UFOs. And this is one of his older sisters. And he passed away this year at 84?
86.
How old was he? 86.
86.
So one of his older sisters was having contact with UFOs and ETs. So if that, like 100 years ago in our line, it's just sort of strange that there's this connection, either spiritual or ET or whatever you want to call it, which I think that, as Kevin, as we get further down this rabbit hole, you and I start learning more and more. And I feel like we're learning that there's a fine line between spirituality or spirits or this other dimension and ETs. I think that there's a lot of things that we can learn from both types of entities or experiences.
Mm-hmm. Clearly, there's something going on in your family. I mean, there's just, and I find it interesting. From me to you, it's cool. I'm, obviously wish you well and don't want you guys to have fears or be scared. I'm curious, because, I know too. But Tip right now doesn't too detail of it, but one of your daughters has kind of seen something or acknowledged something.
Oh,
Did you say that?
My oldest, when she was 2 years old, she started seeing my brother, who passed away in 2006. It actually last week was his 10th anniversary. And my sister, I didn't really have anything, never really had any pictures up. I had them all in storage. And she would see him in my house, and she saw him at different ages. She would see him as a 5 or 6 year old. She would see him as an adult. She would see him, at different places or different stages of his life. Well, eventually it got to the point where I was like, maybe we should try to figure out what she's actually seeing. So my girlfriend and my aunt came over. My aunt, which is my mom's younger sister. My girlfriend went down in the basement. She got out all of these albums and put 30, 40 pictures, group pictures, group family photos and things like that throughout the years of all different ages. Actually, hold on. Hold that thought because our guest is now calling.
Nothing like live radio, internet radio. We could say those 7 bad words that the FCC restricts on normal radio, and that Tiffany's mom restricts me from saying as well. So anyways, I'm a good soldier tonight. So this Tiffany right now is screening our guest, Candace Talmadge. We do shows on Monday and Wednesday as well. Monday nights, I'm with my co-host Russ Hinkle, where we talk about any and everything. Music, religion, politics, art, sports, everything. And then Wednesday nights, Greg Unthank and I do the Shooting Stars show, where we talk exclusively local music here in the Louisville area. So Tiffany, what's the word?
All right. Yeah. She is calling in right now. She thought it was, I guess, Central or Pacific time, but we are definitely Eastern, and she is on board. So it'll just be a moment. But yeah, so our conversation will totally lead into tonight's show. So,
She's on. Let's.
There she is. I got her.
We'll turn her mic on. You got her. Do it.
Yep. Her mic is on. So tonight's guest is Candace Talmadge. She's an author, and she's an inner shift specialist. She's been professionally trained as a writer, and she's been a professional writer since 1976. She has been a syndicated political columnist and written full-time or freelance for major print for years. So she is going to discuss her book, The Afterlife Healing Circle, How Anyone Can Contact the Other Side. Candace, we're more than happy to welcome you to the show this evening. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Tiffany. How are you and Kevin doing?
We're good. We had a little miscommunication because I'm assuming that are you East Coast or West Coast or Central?
West Coast, yes. So 3 hours behind, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that you actually were able to contact us. A little bit about how you got into this interesting field.
I've always been I've always had an open mind, shall we say, to the different explanation. Conventional wisdom, to me, it doesn't seem very smart on many occasions. And from the time I was just a little kid, I knew that the explanations that were generally accepted by the adults, they didn't seem to hold water for me. I mean, I thought, well, that may or may not be true, or maybe it's true for them, but it doesn't seem to me that that's quite the way things are. And when I was, I guess in my teens or early, in 12 or so, my mother had a friend who was dying of cancer, and I visited with my mom at least once this lady in the hospital. And one Friday night, I remember very vividly, I had a dream that my mother and I were visiting her again, and the nurse said to us, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You can't visit Mrs. Jones. She died at 3:30 this morning." And I got up the next morning and was setting the table for a Saturday breakfast when my mom walked in and said, "Oh, the lady, Mrs. Jones, you and I visited, she died this morning at 3:30. So my mom had gotten a phone call, letting her know. So, I didn't say anything. I just thought, that's interesting. That's not, quote unquote, supposed to happen, but it did. And that happens to a lot of people. I mean, this is nothing unusual. That is one of my whole points, is that what we call, quote unquote, paranormal is actually normal. It's just that our definition of what's normal is way too limited. Way limited to the material world, to what we can perceive with our physical senses. Well, I've got news for you. There are at least 4 non-physical senses, and what we can perceive with that is as much normal as anything that we get through our physical senses. So that's kind of...
Remind us, what are those 4 non-physical senses?
Everybody knows about the 3, clairaudience, clairsentience, and clairvoyance. But clairsentience is really 2 channels. What we're talking about is channels of information and the form that the information takes, all right? Because in clairvoyance, it's visual, all right? You either see it outside of your head or inside your head. You have images and pictures.
Exactly.
In clairaudience, it can be auditory. It can be, voices in your head, and no, you're not schizophrenic. You're not crazy. There literally can be voices in your head that are giving you information. But it also unfolds as an understanding, sort of a very clairaudient people tend to be very sequential, all right? That's 2 of those senses. Then there is, clairsentience, it's a feeling, most people will say. The information comes literally as physical sensations on your body, especially strong in that stomach or solar plexus area. But there's another channel of information in there, a knowing or an awareness. and you simply know, you don't know how you know, you don't care that you know, and that is a separate channel of information from the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So there's really 4 soul senses, not the 3 that people generally, generally think of, and the 3 that something like NLP is based on. All right? Because NLP is based on those 3 psychic senses that people know about, the kinesthetic, the auditory, and the visual. So those are those 4 soul senses, and we all have them. We are stronger, but they're in an order, okay, a strength order. We're strongest in 1, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I am strongest in visual information. All right, that's my strongest. It comes through clearest, and it comes through constantly. And then I'm strongest in the clairaudience, or I call it soul understanding. And that unfolds as a sequence. I've occasionally heard voices in my head, but mostly it just comes through as an understanding. And then there's also the soul awareness. That's my 3rd strongest. And soul feeling, or clairsentience, is my 4th. And then my partner and co-author, Jana, is exactly the reverse. All right? She's strongest in that awareness. She's 2nd in soul feeling. She's 3rd in vision, and 4th in understanding, soul understanding, or clairaudience. All right? That's what they mean by opposites attracting. We attract to shore up each other's weaknesses, and so that we can operate out of our strengths. But everybody is getting information. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why really, opposites attract.
Right. And if you two were on a seesaw, you all would just balance each other out the whole time. I get it.
Well, when we're having a good day, yes.
Exactly.
When we're not, it would be a little ruffle.
Yeah. Now, here's a quick thought. When I hear what you're saying, I respect. As Tiffany and Tiffany's mom were talking before you joined us, we were talking some of the experiences that Tiffany and her mom has endured or lived. And I haven't. That's not how I'm wired. And we agree that there's something, you just have it. You have it, Candace, Tiffany has it, that can connect with the afterlife or that parallel universe or whatever. But here's the thing, when you made this statement that it's more normal than paranormal, but when science and medicine responds to these people, there's usually meds involved. So how does, when someone has these experiences and they don't know really what it is, and they share it with their doctor or something, and then they're doped up with something that is supposed to help them get rid of the voices in their head, but really these voices are or is something trying to speak with them, trying to connect with them. How do you respond to science and medicine when it comes to your work?
Well, on the one hand, I don't respond. All right, they do their thing, and that's fine with me.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Again, you're assuming that the only way that's valid to connect with our universe and understand our experiences of ourselves and our world are through science and medicine. I think science and medicine are very helpful. They've obviously given us great things, but they're not the end-all and be-all. And as far as I'm concerned, today's modern medical system is set up to enhance profit, not keep people healthy. All right? It's not really health care. It's not really health care. It's sick care. All right?
It is sick. You're right. It's a business. It is a business.
It's a business. It's a business, and the business is not to the benefit of the people who receive the medicine. All right? That's unfortunate. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's the way it is.
Okay.
So what I do is I can't argue with them, because they won't respect me. All right? They don't, and I don't care. I don't need their respect. I think it's the height of arrogance to tell me what my experience has been when you haven't lived my experience. Mm-hmm. And that, unfortunately, tends to be a lot of what so-called experts say. This is what reality is. Well, my response is they have no idea on earth what reality is really like. And if they want to say that's the way it is, fine with me. I'm not even going to argue the point. But what I will say to people is that there is a time and place for traditional medicine, and there is a time and place to look elsewhere. Now, when my clients come to me, we determine what's what. Because very often, there will be something that, I'll tell a client, look, this is not something I can help you with. You need a doctor, or you need a psychiatrist, or whatever, okay? Because it's beyond me, and I'm not trying to be all things to all people. I can't take on stuff that's out of my understanding, and I don't have any knowledge of medications. I don't want that knowledge, all right? That's very complex. It takes a lot of study and knowledge and specialized understanding of the workings of pharmacology. I don't care, all right? They can do their thing. I'm here to help people who I call are the walking worried well. They've got jobs, they've got kids, they've got a mortgage, or they've got, a lease, and yet there are patterns in their life, and they're just not comfortable in their own skin. Or something is hanging on. Like, I'll talk to you, Jen and I wrote a book called The Afterlife Healing Circle, How Anyone Can Contact the Other Side. And we wrote it because we set up this school to teach people about their inner senses and how to recognize them and how to use them every day in a practical way. Because my goal is to make this practical, not airy-fairy. All right? If you can't better your life, why are you messing with it? All right? Go see a movie. So our goal was to teach people, and in doing that, we were hoping, they would come to us and we would have, they would do therapy or classes with Jana, and either the student or someone the student knew would have an issue that nobody could solve. Like in our book, there was an older lady named Clara. All right? Clara's mother died in 1967. And Clara had spent 20 years trying to find resolution for the death of her mother. And her daughter was one of Jana's students. And then, Jana just mentioned the Healing Circle. And her daughter, I'll call Lisa, said, that might be a good thing. Maybe Mom. So she mentioned it to her mother, and her mother said, yes, I want to do it. So we set that up, and Jana led the circle. We invited Lisa and Clara, and I was there, and a couple of other people were there, and we had a circle. And it was the most profound and beautiful experience that I can guarantee you nothing in science or medicine could do for this woman what that circle did. All right? Nothing. They just cannot account for it. And the interesting thing is that Clara had daily psychiatric sessions for 3 years. And she said they helped her a great deal. But they couldn't resolve the issue of her deceased mother, because she believed her mother had lived a facade and had not wanted to admit who she really was, and she had her reasons for it. The family immigrated from Russia, and in those days, in the 50s and 60s, it really wasn't safe to say, hey, I'm Russian, not here in this country. That was during the Cold War, and there were a great deal of hostile feelings. So Clara just had this issue. And nothing psychiatry. She moved and tried psychotherapy for 5 months, and that didn't help either. They got her to a certain point, but past that point, they could not help. So the circle did for her what science and medicine couldn't do. All right? And I think that's great. I think that people have the right to go beyond the limitations of science and medicine and find something. And I'm not saying the circle will work for everybody. I'm saying, but they have the right to keep looking, which is what Clara did, till she got something that helped her. All right? That's the thing. That's why we offer it. It is an option. Dr. Raymond Moody, who very generously wrote a foreword to our book, he wrote that wonderful book about the Greek mirror gazing technique. That might work for many people, okay? Again,
is that the Black Mirror scrying?
Well, it's a really interesting technique where you have to read about it in the book, and you use sort of look sideways into a mirror. It's really very to me it seems very odd and kind of a challenge, but there are people who I know who have gotten benefit from it. He talks about them in his book. So I'm saying there's an option. The circle is an option. Going to a medium is an option. Try things until you get what you need to feel at peace with it. All right? That's what you're looking for. You want to be reassured. You want to feel at peace. You don't want to feel like you've lost this connection forever, which is what really people really grieve over. They miss the physical presence of the person, and they fear that when that person dies, they have lost the connection forever. And what the circle does is it lets you experience the reality that you have not lost this connection, that you can make it through those soul senses. That's the thing about the circle that's really reassuring and empowering and uplifting. It fills people
Candace,
with hope.
Okay, but I'm trying to grasp this. Okay, so you're saying the healing circle. The circle is that another word for like Ouija boards, or is it another word for seances?
It's another way to describe way to describe a seance, but we do it very differently. All right.
Now this has reading your book, it actually has like a more positive connotation than what I grew up thinking of as a seance. When I was young, it was more of that fun, scary thing that people do in a group overnight at a camp party or whatever, or slumber parties. But it came to seem to me that it was more positive, and this is the type of relationship that I have with more things these days. It's an overwhelming urge to communicate, but it's in a positive light. You know, you're not looking for devils and demons. You're looking for that love and that reassurance that spirits are, you know, your family, your friends are really okay and taken care of. Is that correct?
Exactly, precisely. Now, let's talk about those devils and demons and Ouija boards and seances.
Okay.
You put your finger right on it when you said that a seance is something that people do as a lark when they're bored at a party or an overnight camp out or whatever. That's when you can get yourself into big, big trouble, because quite frankly, there are think about this world, all right? There are an awful lot of people in this world you really don't want to tangle with. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
You just as soon not cross. Well, on the other side, guess what? Nothing changes. There are an awful lot of souls and entities on the other side you really don't want to tangle with. All right? You just want to steer clear with them. If you don't believe that, and if you think, oh, well, this is a real lark, and you say, is anybody out there? Guess what? Somebody's out there. And
there's always somebody.
There's always somebody, isn't there? Somebody's out there. And if you do that, you give permission for literally anything and anyone to come in to your life. You do not want to do this unless you really want to set yourself up for headache like you wouldn't believe. All right? That's the thing. I do not focus on the negative. I focus on the positive. But just because I focus on the positive, I still acknowledge that problems exist and problematic souls and entities exist. All right? I don't say, oh, no, they're not. Yeah, they're there. All right? They're really there, and they really can cause you all sorts of heartburn. You can be possessed. I believe that. I've seen it. Okay? I have no, but what I'm saying is, do not do this for a lark. Do not do this because you are bored. Do it because you have an emotional connection to the soul you want to contact, and because you need resolution. Or the soul may come to you. I mean, the dead, quote unquote, in our book, they contact people all the time, because they have things that they didn't say before they died, all right? And they want to say them now. So when the soul or you are striving for that connection and there is an emotional tie, then of course you have the right, both parties have the right to come together and get said what needs to be said and reassure and hug each other in spirit and love on each other and cry a little bit, laugh a little bit, and get the resolution you need. But the whole point is that our method teaches you a way so that you can do this and never have to worry about unwanted visitors. And that's because you ask your spirit guides for protection before you ever start. Every time you do a circle, every member asks his or her spirit guides for protection. And they literally act as bouncers. They stand outside the circle, right around, just behind everybody. They're there. You can feel them, see them, know them. They're there. And they will not allow anything or anyone to come through except the souls you want to connect with. That's the
Now, are these beings somebody like an angel, like an archangel? Is this something that we know of? Is this something that we should be familiar with? Or is it someone that is individually a protector of each person?
Well, kind of all of the above. Okay. Let me tease it out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has spirit guides, all right? In our work, Jana and I found that we found one client that had 2, and we found another client that had 8, okay? Everybody, usually anywhere between 4 and 6. That's a typical. And you choose these guides before you come into a physical body, and they stay with you until you leave the physical body and go through your life review. And if you're smart, you'll call on them, and they'll help you with your life review. You choose them for a reason. And very often you've shared past lives with them. So you also have emotional ties with these souls. They care about you. They want to support you and help you. They cannot run your life for you. All they can do is give you love, offer you options. They're the best friends you've ever had, and most people never consciously, that's what I try to help people do. I take people to meet their spirit guides. I help them make that conscious connection, find out who these guides are, find out a name for the guides, start connecting with them and asking them, having that open-ended conversation that you can't get from a Ouija board, all right? Yes, no is not a way to talk to people. So guides are just like us. They just don't have bodies that we perceive as physical. And when you're in a circle and you have asked them for protection, they will act as spiritual bouncers, and nothing untoward is ever going to happen. They can't, because if you don't give permission for the problematic to step through your door, it can't. Interestingly enough, it has to abide by your free will too, but you have to know that you have that free will, and you have to exercise it.
Speaking of free will, nice little segue. What is your take on religion?
My take on religion is that dogma is man-made. Spirituality is our gift from God, all right? I make a big distinction between the rules and strictures that human religions set up and what God said, basically, which is love each other. Love each other. That's it. Love each other. Love yourself. Love each other. I like, what Jesus said. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Period. And love God. There you have it. Those are the rules. Love your neighbor as yourself, which means you love yourself just as much as you love your neighbor, and you cannot love your neighbor any more than you love yourself. So if you don't love yourself, you will not love your neighbor. You can't. Mm-hmm. You have no love to give.
That's a hard thing to actually do, and it takes a long time for people to really develop even that part of themselves.
Well, there's a reason for that.
These days, it's hard. These days, it's hard. The media really pushes these beautiful people and these extremely talented people, but it's hard to
turn that off. That's what, turn TMZ off, turn MTV off, turn the E channel off. Yeah, you're right. That's ridiculous.
Well, there's no point comparing yourself to anybody else because you're unique, and one of the reasons that it's so hard to love yourself is that you are judging against yourself. That's stuff that's deep inside your subconscious, or what we call your emotional body. All right? You don't know it's there. You just live with the very unhappy consequences of it. All right? So that's another thing that Jen and I do. We do a therapy that helps people get in touch with the emotional part of themselves, not the mental, not the spiritual, the emotional, very different. And we help them release self-judgment from that deeper part of self. They don't know it's there. We had one woman, Jen and I wrote a different book about emotional and spiritual healing resolution. Her name was Lana. That's her name in the book. And she was convinced before she did this therapy that her issue would be with her mother. Well, actually it was Jana, but Lana talked to me about it. Jana was her therapist, and they did their sessions. And it wasn't her mother that she had the issue with. Consciously, she thought it was, but emotionally, her issue was with her father. She had no conscious awareness of it. So that's what Jana and she were dealing with in the session, and releasing self-judgment and, letting it go and reclaiming the power that you lose, because when you judge against yourself, you throw a part of your energy field, your consciousness outside, and you take in someone else's. You give them the power to judge you, to make you less than. So there's some energy redistribution that goes on, shall we say. And when she got off the table, the back problem that had plagued her all her life was gone. And I asked her a couple of years, how's your back? She says, it's fine. It hasn't come back. So, interestingly enough, the emotional is the key to our well-being. People get that, but they don't quite get that in order to heal the emotional body, the one thing you have to do is start pulling the self-judgments that are out of it, that are in you, that you're not consciously aware of. You start going and finding the ones that you are prepared to deal with. And, it's a process. You didn't get this way overnight. You won't get, it won't be completed overnight. But as you start releasing and letting go of self-judgment, you begin to be able to love yourself with fewer and fewer limitations on that love. Because what limits your self-love is self-judgment. It's a limitation. So that's what you want. You want unlimited self-love. That way you have all the love in the world to give anyone.
So do you feel like this actually gets you to a point where you can communicate better with other beings, whether it's just, your neighbor or somebody in the spirit realm?
That's an astute observation. It's absolutely correct. Because why we have so much trouble trusting our intuition, why we have so much trouble understanding other people or understanding ourselves, is that the information that comes intuitively flows through our energy field, and it reaches certain points in the chakras where you can perceive it. All right? That's the feelings come and they register in that solar plexus chakra, and then suddenly you're getting those intuitive feelings, that gut feeling that people talk about. Or the knowing comes through that crown chakra, and suddenly you just have this awareness. Here's the problem. When you have judgment against self, your chakras and that flow of energy is gummed up and blocked. And it becomes very difficult for you to get intuitive information about yourself and other people. When you start clearing away the blocks and clearing away the limitations, suddenly the energy flows stronger and faster and more abundantly, and you become more aware of what your motivations are, and you become more aware of what other people's motivations are. It's amazing. So you grow in understanding of yourself and others. I've found that, because it used to be that people were just a total mystery to me, but now it's easier to tune in and get a good sort of bottom line thumbnail gist of what's going on with that person. I don't do it unless they ask me to. I don't want to do it. It's none of my business unless they ask. But if they do, or it pertains to me, all right, like if it's a colleague at work or a family member, then you tune in with your intuition, those soul or psychic senses, and you can get something that that is helpful to you in dealing with this person. I remember, it's so funny, you talk about spirit guides and whether or not they can be helpful to you. Many, many years ago, one of our students is an older woman who had an adult daughter with a 2-year-old child. Now, mom worked, so the toddler was in daycare. Well, the toddler started biting, all right? That's not good. And the daycare said to the mother, look, if you can't get your daughter to stop biting, we're not going to let her in here anymore. So our student said, I know what to do. And she went to her guides. And she said, why is this going on? What's going on with my granddaughter? Well, the guides went to the little girl's guides and had a little consult session and came back and said, here's what's going on and here's what you can do to stop it. They did it, and our student, our client reported back to us, it worked. She stopped biting. That's what I call practical spirituality.
Right. That makes sense. Being able to use their advice and guidance in your everyday life instead of just using it for entertainment.
Well, or for entertainment, or for thinking that this is somehow not, it's sort of out there, or it's for 2 hours on a Sunday, or it's somehow too spiritual and lofty to be. No, it's part of your limitation. You are a spiritual being a physical being, and a mental being, and an emotional being. Mm-hmm. Bring all of that to your life in this physical world, all of it. Don't cut off parts of yourself. That's the problem. People are walking around cut off, compartmentalized, and then wondering, why do I feel so incomplete? Why do I feel like I have holes? Mm-hmm. Well, it's because you're not allowing yourself to live and take advantage of and explore all of you. And that's what that ties right back to the circle, because when you're in that circle, when you're in that healing circle, every aspect of your being is doing something. It's participating in some way. All of self is present, and all of self benefits. And that's so to me, again, that's practical spirituality, bringing all of self to your life.
Can you explain the process that you would go about doing this healing circle? Can you
Sure.
Can you describe the process along with the type of attitude that one would need to go in with?
Just an open mind. Okay, you need two things. You need an open mind and the ability to give love. Got that? You can do it.
Yes, we got it.
All right.
We got it.
It's really, those are the prerequisites. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then there's a person called the conductor. They sort of sit at the head of the circle and keep things going. And then the conductor, you make it known, hey, I'm willing to do this. And someone will come to you, okay, I want to speak to, you don't want to, you tell this person, okay, if you want the healing circle, don't tell me anything about the soul you want, except do you have an emotion? You just want to find out that this person has an emotional connection. It's a friend or a relative, all right? But you want to know as little as possible about this person. You don't want details. You just want to make sure that there is an emotional connection. And then you get 4 to 6 people together. And if the person who wants to make the connection is called the inquirer. The inquirer can bring a friend or a daughter, or Clara brought her daughter. Okay. So you sit, the inquirer, the conductor sort of arranges the circle, and it's just literally a circle of chairs. Okay. And you can do this. You can sit in a field at high noon if you want to. I mean, Jen and I usually did our sessions at about 2 or 3 in the afternoon in a living room with a circle of chairs. And in the middle, we put a box of Kleenex because, believe me, you'll need it. It gets quite emotional.
So
have a box of Kleenex handy.
Box of Kleenexes. Okay. All right. Okay, I can do that.
Yep. Again, it's not hard. This definitely is not brain surgery. So this is much more fun and easy.
Well, it is. It is when people are not connected to their self.
Well, in a manner of speaking, in the broadest possible interpretation of that.
Yeah.
So you've got this circle. Okay. So the conductor explains to the inquirer. In the beginning, there's 2 parts to this circle. The first part is we're going to get evidence that will help you be assured that this is the soul you want to connect with, all right? It's called evidential material. And it's just, stuff the left brain needs to be sure, The heart knows. The heart can feel the energy as soon as it comes in the room, but the left brain's going, maybe not,
Yeah, that
so we
makes
say,
sense.
okay. So we say, okay, left brain, we'll give you some information that only the inquirer and the soul can know. Fine. Mm-hmm. So the inquirer says yes, no, or I don't know. All right, that's how you respond. Because what's going to happen is the people who attend, the conductor and the other participants, will start getting information from the soul. And if the soul doesn't understand, the inquirer will tell the soul, please give us some information to help reassure, we'll say Clara again, just to reassure Clara that you are the soul she wants to talk to. All right. So immediately should happen, because what you've done is you've set up a flow of information. You've asked your guides to protect everybody. You've gotten you hold hands. The specifics are explained in the book, and then you just send love from your heart around the circle. Right. And when that love starts to flow and you ask the soul to come into the circle, literally that flow of love is a flow of information. So the soul will start giving you information, and depending on your soul senses, you might see things, you might feel things, you might hear things, you might know things, but what the participants are supposed to do is voice this information. All right? The more they voice, the more they get. It kind of primes the pump. And as they voice the information, the inquirer says yes, no, or I don't know. All right? So one time Jana was sitting in a circle, and she could tell that the guy next to her kept getting something, but he wasn't saying anything. And again, this happens. People edit, or they say, no, this is too weird. It can't possibly be right. Well, you have to keep in mind, if you're participating in the circle, the information is not for you. It is for the inquirer. So speak up.
Oh, yeah.
Speak up. It doesn't matter. Even if the inquirer says, I don't know. Sometimes, that happens, but later on the inquirer finds out, yes, that was valid information. So speak up. So Jana said, all right, I can tell you're getting something. Come on, out with it. So the guide said, well, this just doesn't make any sense. I see a white picket fence, but it's not upright. It's on its side. And the woman, the inquirer, gasped and said, now I know it's my son. Because years before,
what was the key?
As a boy, her son had taken a white picket fence, turned it on its side, nailed it to the trunk of a tree so that his dog could climb up and join him in his treehouse. Only he.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, only he and his mother would have known about that. Nobody else knew.
Oh my goodness.
The people in that circle didn't even know that it was her son until they finally identified him in the circle. They just knew that there was a soul that this woman wanted to speak to. All right?
So the participants
they didn't know who
have to be willing to express what they're getting, no matter they can't be that reserved. They have to be able to share what they're feeling and sensing.
And hopefully
in order for this whole circle to work.
Yes, it does help. And hopefully, again, this is where the open mind and the willingness just to say, hey, I'm seeing this or I'm feeling this. I don't know what it means, but here it is. And that's really how you offer it. You just say, I don't know, but here's what I'm getting. And if you will do that, you'll get more and more information. And at some point, the inquirer is going to say, yes, I know it's my Uncle Joe or my Aunt Susie, or whoever they want. You say, yes, I know. It's okay. That takes you to the second half of the circle. And the second half of the circle is simply giving the inquirer and the soul time to talk to each other and helping that conversation. All right? Sometimes the inquirer doesn't quite trust what he or she is getting, but the other people will say, well, I'm getting this, and your uncle is trying to say that. And they just help fill in the picture for the inquirer. And everybody feels the love, and everybody feels the emotions, and everybody will be needing those Kleenex, I can promise you, okay? It's just an emotional, powerful thing. And everybody feels like they contributed and they made a difference and that they did something for themselves. And that's what the most exciting thing about it is, that this is something you can do, and this shows you that you have abilities that you may not even realize that you have. that's really empowering. And again, that's practical spirituality. You are helping people. You are helping yourself. When you contribute to these circles, you are helping yourself as well as someone else.
So you don't have to be a psychic or a medium or anything like that to even communicate or participate.
Exactly. You don't have to be psychic because you are psychic. You just don't recognize it, or you just have cut it off, or you just don't pay it. Because, again, we're not rewarded, all right? We're not rewarded for being intuitive in this world. We're told we're flaky.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah.
So, we're not rewarded for it. We're kind of laughed at, and people just get very, very uncomfortable admitting to it. So, that's why people have a problem trusting that part of self. But it's just as valid a part of self as the logical part.
One of the things is we're talking about, you're telling us really how to do it and what to do. One of the why to do it, to me, would be closure. There's something that has not been answered, or there's still just something that has not giving me, when I say me, in a general statement, giving me the final I's dotted and T's crossed. But what happens when you have someone who sees so much for others, but there's something that they've experienced that they don't want to maybe put closure on something that they don't want closed. I've read somewhere where an individual lost.
Do you mean like if someone is murdered and
in this case they lost a child, and when I say lost, it went missing, and has not been able to find the child. The truth is that the child probably is deceased, or experienced something bad, but the person who has this ability to connect won't let themselves connect, or with possibly their child, because they don't want that closure. So help me.
Then
walk me through
I wouldn't
that.
recommend. I wouldn't recommend a circle for them. All right. Again, this is not for everybody. This is for people who want it and need it. Like Clara, she needed it. She knew she needed it, and she wanted it. In the case of a parent whose child has gone missing, there are a number of options. One might be to have traditional therapy. That might help. Again, these are just options. I'm not saying that they will work for everybody or that they're appropriate for everybody. I would need to do some intuitive counseling with this person to find out what this person really needed. Because sometimes people don't want to know. They want that measure of hope, and I'm not going to take that away from them.
Right. Because that was how I got out of it, is that this person sees so much, refuses to see what is probably right there, that he could, not have to worry one more second on whether something continuing or something bad is continuing, or whatever. It's just that closure. But I guess I see what you're saying. I guess in my point, for me, I'd want the closure. I guess I don't know. I'm a little.
But you
have
can't
mixed
do
emotions
that for
on
everyone, though.
No,
exactly.
I get that. I'm curious to why one wouldn't want it. If you got that ability, why wouldn't you want to, in this case, why wouldn't this guy who, with his abilities is helping lots of people, but yet he's not really helping himself. And I think what I'm struggling with, what we're hearing tonight, and I'm with you, Candace, 100%. You got to start with yourself. The love's got to be there. I think if you can eliminate pain, then why not go for it? Why not do that? And clearly the guy's still emotionally in pain.
Exactly. And again, I've run across, I can guarantee you that there are people who will come for therapy or come for, sessions, support groups, they're not ready to let go of their pain because they don't know how to be anything else except a parent in pain. There is not much you can do for them, all right? When that's the case, I don't continue working with them because I'm not going to take their money when they're not making any progress, all right? You can simply say to them, you're obviously not ready to let this go, and I hope you find somewhere where you're comfortable and can get benefit out of it. Again, everybody's growth path is different. Nobody can say how long is appropriate for a person to grieve or to be in a state of not knowing or to whatever. I mean, people need different amounts of time, all right? Only when people are ready will they move out of one situation, I'm talking emotionally, will they move out of one emotional set into another. And that's not for anyone else to decide. You can't.
Right.
I mean, you can look at it and say, why? Why not? But again, you're from the outside. There's something this person's getting out of it. When they don't get it any longer, they'll move. And that's all I can say.
What's your response, Candace, when the and I'm gonna be a straight shooter here, when the religious nut job says, but God works in mysterious ways?
My response is, that's bullshit.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's your soundbite, Kevin.
There's my soundbite.
Believe me,
I tend to agree.
I've had quite a few sort of screaming matches in my own heart at God, all right? Guess what? God listens. God gets it. There is so much that is screwed up about what happens on earth and why it happens. God knows, all right? Here's the issue. God gave us free will, and that means truly free will. It's up to us to cut through the garbage and decide, do I need this or am I getting something out of it? And if I'm not, I can move on. But again, we might not be able to know how to move on. But if we will just say in our hearts, I want to move on, then be open, we'll find that lifelines or opportunities come to us. Again, we can choose. Do we take advantage of it or do we ignore it? It's all part of our growth path. Some of us are a little more direct. I am the most direct possible person. I'm like, let's go in, let's jump in to 100 feet deep, feet first, let's go.
You're the one you're the one that jumps in the deep end at the YMCA pool to get the quarter, right? There you go.
I'm the first to the deep end. All right, but even I have come smack up against my limitations. And there are parts of me that are holding on to things. And what I learn is I can't hurt, it's like the old song says, you can't hurry love and you can't hurry those parts. All you can do is accept them where they are and do your best, all right? Because at any given time, you will do the best that you know how to do, all right? You will be the best person you know how to be. And once again, what you begin to understand when you get inside you and you start looking through what I call expanded eyes, because that's what this approach that we do gives you. It gives you the ability to use your spiritual body for expanded perception, is that we all do the best we can. We all have our limitations. And the greatest gift we can give to ourselves is just accept that we have limitations in some areas. And lo and behold, when you do that, you find that you start dropping your limitations when you are emotionally prepared to do so.
All right, I got two more God questions, and then I'll be good, because these are just work with me. Is our God a loving God?
Our God is love.
Well, hold on. Let me rephrase the question, because I'm going to ask it the way
You better get it right, Kevin. Get it right.
Is the God a loving God?
The God is love. All right, literally love. Because You know, E equals MC squared, you know, that equivalence equation that Einstein does that symbolizes genius for everybody and says matter and energy are fundamental equivalents? Well, guess what? It's not just matter and energy that are fundamental equivalents. It's matter, energy, consciousness, and love. Love and is equivalent. So we are made out of love. We come from love. We are made out of love. And the only reason we do not perceive that or feel it are all those self-judgments we have against ourselves. That's why it doesn't feel. It feels like the opposite of love so many times.
Yeah, you're right. Because I think it is. I think it is. My point is that I think God's right down the middle. I think it's a higher power, because if you can call him, Candace, a loving God, then I've got to challenge you to say all right, for that, he's a loving God. But for this, he's got to be hateful, because if he's almighty, then why are kids suffering? Why are, the atrocities and stuff? That's why I don't use the word love, because I can't.
Can I stand in? Can I make a statement about that?
Go.
I think that people, this is sort of strange, but it leads into our next question for Candace, but I sort of feel like people are given a path, and you have free will. You can choose to be good, you can choose to be evil, and the people who get hurt or killed or slaughtered or mutilated or all of these horrible things that can go on and do go on around the world, I think that these people they have a path, they have a plan, and their suffering is alleviated by the fact that God still loves them, and they are given the chance later to do more and be more. I feel that they're given this path to make you and me, who are moral beings, look at this and say, we can't keep doing this. We cannot allow that to happen. We have to be stronger, better, more loving beings.
Tiffany, let me explain something. Most souls can't learn from example, unfortunately. Some can, but most can't. We have
so what do
to
you,
have
what do you do?
we have to have the experience. And the soul is curious. And so we have many lifetimes, and we experience being rich and life at ease. We experience being poor. We experience being powerful. We experience being powerless. We experience being male. We experience being female or something in between. We experience everything because we can't learn except through the experience. That is what gives us wisdom. That's what gives us empathy. If you walked in someone else's shoes because you've had that experience in a past life, you will have more empathy. Now, what also cuts us off from our empathy are our self-judgments. People are full of just self-judgments and fear, are too afraid to be empathetic. But they may well have gone through the same experience, but their fears will not allow them. You see, God doesn't ordain suffering. God doesn't ordain anything. In giving us free will, God gave us the respect to let us follow our own paths, try out new things, make mistakes, have what seem like terrible experiences. But we come out on the other side, and eventually it all becomes part of who we are. And if we're wise or if we're focused on it, then, yeah, it gives us wisdom. It takes some souls takes a heck of a long time. Okay, they're just pretty hard-headed.
Right, and that's me. I struggle. I'm going to struggle with that one because I read it recently. There was I don't know, some bus crash or something. It's probably been a month or so, and a few of the kids on the bus died. The mother of one of the kids who lived during the interview said, there must have been an angel watching over my child. God is good. And when I heard that line, I wanted to throw my effing remote into the TV, because to me that is so
because what
arrogant.
about the child that died?
That is so arrogant for someone to say that. Basically, you're saying my child is better than, that my God is going to look after my child first before, you. And that's why I'll never grasp the loving God. I just think he's a higher power. Now, I also think, take it a step further, Candace. Yeah, Candace. Who or what is God to you?
God is this incredible feeling of unconditional love and acceptance that I have felt many times when in Sunon therapy and in the circle. You feel it. All right? God isn't my babysitter. God isn't my nanny. God doesn't tell me how to live my life. God granted me the respect to determine that for myself. All right? But God is the source of my being, and if God did not exist, I would not. So I cannot exist without God.
Could God be alien?
Only in the sense that people really don't, the peace of God that passeth all understanding, that's what unconditional love feels like. And when you're full of self-judgment, you really don't get unconditional love. Okay? Yeah. That's part of the problem people have. They don't get it. They crave it, but when they feel it, they run screaming from it because it does feel alien. They don't get it. Why does God love bad people as well as God loving good people? Well, guess what? God's love is for everybody. The quote-unquote good guys and the quote-unquote bad guys, all of them get God's love. Now, if they choose to embrace it, they can choose to embrace it. They can choose to be loving themselves. They can choose to grow and care about their fellow human beings. Or they don't have to, and many of them don't. Look at this world.
So when the guy who commits wipes out his family and goes to jail, but in jail he finds God. He reads the Bible throughout, every day. He's got it memorized. And he now believes in God, God's love. And does that make...
Well, think about what he's feeling after he's found God. Think about what he feels at that point, knowing what he did to his family. So maybe that is a spiritual form of justice.
No, I still think justice is
because we like to judge.
No, I think justice.
Kevin, hear me, Kevin. The only justice is that man killed only the physical bodies. Everything else his family was, they still are. That's justice.
Let's talk about reincarnation, though.
But no, hold on. I'd argue that because he's killing his kids and say he killed his kids and wife. But what about the grandparents? What about the sisters of the mother? The other family members that's impacted.
Yes. Yes.
I hate to say this, but Christmas is not going to be the same the following year. It's not. So
Christmas isn't going to be the same, but I'm saying ultimately, the most he can do is kill a physical body. And yes, he committed a gross violation of their free will by killing their physical bodies. All right?
Doesn't he deserve to die?
And I personally putting him to death won't bring him back. So why?
Yeah,
why bother?
He will die.
Well, how will he die, Tiffany? You mean in prison for life, or via the needle?
Does it matter?
Well, to me it matters because I don't think the death penalty can be administered equitably, and I think poor and minority people are far more liable to be put.
Yeah, I don't think they do it either.
Yeah, so I think we should just take it off the table and just put them in prison for life.
You got me there. But there's also a bill for that too that we all get to pay for. So
Yeah.
anyways,
Let's talk about reincarnation for a second, and because one of the aspects of the book that was amazing to me was discussing the possibility of contacting a child, either after it has passed, or B, before it is born.
Mm-hmm.
Because
well, again,
it is the soul, correct?
Consciousness exists irrespective of the existence of the physical body, all right? Consciousness is a continuum. The soul is a continuum, all right? It exists before the physical body is born. It exists after the physical body dies. So there's no reason you can't contact a child while the physical body is still in the womb. And I always recommend this to parents because let's face it, the kid comes out of the womb screaming, naked, and absolutely no user manual. Who is this thing? You've got this little tiny person who's a complete and total stranger to you. And I do not believe that kids come out of the womb clean slates. I believe they carry wisdom from previous lives, and I think they carry baggage from previous lives. So it's very helpful for parents to connect with a child and say, what's your purpose for this lifetime? What are your lessons? What name would you like me to call you? Have we been together before? Why did you choose me? All those questions you can get answered uniquely to that child or children. We had a session with twins that we write about in the book. You can get those answers. And then when the kid is born, you're not parenting a stranger. You know a great deal about the soul, and you know that you're not there. You are there to be a good steward of the childhood, but that soul is just as old as you are. So all you are is a steward of that soul's current childhood, and it takes a lot of the heaviness and, I might screw up type of fears out of being a parent. Look, the soul's been around a few blocks. Chill out and keep in mind what the soul's lessons are, what the soul's purpose is, and lend a parental helping guiding hand. That's what you're doing. It really takes the load off.
Children, do you feel that souls are bound to each other? Like, do we go through life and have the same souls around us? I know that you had mentioned something about that earlier, but do you really feel that, like, my daughter will be my daughter or granddaughter or great granddaughter again, or will we remain a family structure, or do we have new experiences?
I think you keep emotional connections. I think you experience different relationships, okay? Someone who, might have been brothers in a life might come back as a father and son, all right? Mm-hmm. Different relationship, but the same affection and love is there. So souls are not tied to each other in the sense that we all have free will and we can all go our own paths. They choose to be with each other because they found they're comfortable with each other. They found support with each other, and why not have a support system when you come into this world? Things can be a challenging thing, so have some souls around who are in your corner. It's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
They come into your life at different times of your life. It's very interesting. All right. You meet up with souls who you've had a go-round with. I know I've done that throughout my life. In my childhood I met some. When I was a young woman I met others. And then I got a little older and still met further, souls with whom I know I've had many past lives. And it's wonderful, it's good. And you have connections and you have friendships. It's because you have already a foundation of experience with each other.
Does the circle help identify these souls? Is that a possibility?
That's a possibility. It might come up in the circle, might not. It just depends on what the issues are and who the souls are. You can finally you can do that yourself. I mean, you You just know, or you can tell, or there's just some sort of instant connection, and you know that this is strange. We've never met each other before, but we feel like we know each other. And if that's happened to any of you, chances are you do know each other. You just are not consciously aware of where that knowing comes from. And again, if you have spirit guides and you talk with them, they can say, oh, yes, you knew these, blah, 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 blah. And that's a lot of what I do when I meet people. I ask my spirit guides. I'm like, okay, I've had a go-around with it. Tell me more about it. So they do. Or they say no or whatever. They give me the scoop. They give me the skinny. And it's good. It just fleshes things out. It makes it easier at a conscious level. Again, it's, so much of what people try to do spiritually is groping in the dark because they're cut off from their deeper parts of self. That's why you want to get rid of as many of those self-judgments as possible. That's why you want to become confident in using your soul senses, because there are depths of you that you want to know consciously, and this is how you do it.
Do you have any precautions that you would like to share about going into a circle with either a group of friends or a group of compatible people with the same interest?
Well, I think we've kind of talked about, doing it as a lark without any protection. The precaution is that if you're going to go into a circle, always ask for protection. Even if you don't know your spirit guides, it doesn't matter. If you ask for protection, you will have protection. All right? It just seems, more comfortable if you have an idea of who's around helping you. But you can ask for protection, and you will get it because you have asked. Again, this is about not violating your free will. So if you want protection, you got to ask every single time.
And what happens if there is somebody that comes through that's more negative? Is there a special way to close the circle, or a special way to cancel out any negative energy that may push through?
Well, I've never had that happen, but if say your soul just for whatever reason is not cooperating or just suddenly becomes hostile or belligerent, all you do is just ask your own guide to escort the soul away, and that'll happen. All right? Again, I've had people try to do that, try to peer in and invade my energy, and I just told my guides, out, please, and it was gone instantly. I knew it was there, and then it was gone because I asked, and I said, I don't want this around. And I don't. Again, I don't focus on the negative. I don't want them. A cheap thrill is that. It's a cheap thrill, and it's not helpful.
So check your negativity at the door.
Check your net. Well, check your. Well, for me, it's like, what do you get out of it? What are you really getting? I mean, I see these programs where people get scared to death and all these horror and slasher films. I'm like, holy cow. You are trivializing and bastardizing something that is so beautiful and can be so positive and uplifting, and you're just making it a stupid, sick game. Too.
Yeah, something that's ancient, something that's really been with us for a long time and been really made to look like a very terrifying horror thing.
Well, it's interesting because I guess if you can convince people that the part of them that connects them to their power and their source and their love and their support, if you can convince them that that's evil, then you can own them. Think about that. You can own them. And that, my friends, is one of my biggest beefs with organized religion. Don't tell me my connection to God is evil. It isn't. You know the phrase false prophet? In my opinion, a false prophet is anybody or any institution that tries to insert himself between a person and their creator. That's a false prophet.
Well, that's part of the problem that I come across with friends of mine is we live in the Bible Belt, and we have a lot of people that are very either Baptist or very Catholic or very religious, organized religion. And the one thing that they come up with every time I try to broach the subject of spirituality is, well, you cannot conjure. Do not ask something of God, or somebody else or a being, because it's conjuring the spirits, which is bad in God's eyes. And I'm like, but these are beings. These are creatures. These are spiritual beings. And I sort of feel like, God probably created all. So why would they all be bad? And why would it be bad to contact someone that I love, someone who I know loved me? I don't understand that aspect of this. And I am a Catholic, so it does confuse me. But it's like, why would that be bad? Why is that conjuring? Why is conjuring a bad thing? It just seems like it has a very negative connotation. And I think that we should try to get away from the negative connotation and maybe try to open our spirit up to the possibilities of having a reconnect with other beings that we love.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely, Tiffany. Again, I put it to you. People or institutions that try to insert themselves between you and God or between you and your loved ones who have passed over, they're false prophets. They have no business doing that. But if they can get between you and that, if they can get between you and your source so that you feel cut off and afraid, then they can own you and manipulate you. They can prey on your fears. And that's one of the reasons that some religions scream very loudly about this. They don't want you feeling empowered. They don't want you feeling connected. They don't want you knowing that you can define your own relationship with God. I mean, the ultimate power trip is to say, I'm the only way to God. You have to follow every one of my rules and believe everything I say in order for God to accept you. What nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And that the circle is designed to help you get an experience of your own abilities to connect and resolve and heal, and to give you that feeling of, wow, I can do this. I am connected. I can get information for myself and others. And if you choose to follow an institution, I have no argument with that. Personally, I don't need church. I'm a generic, okay? If I want to feel God, I do a meditation, or I go out into some place that's physically beautiful, or go to the ocean. I'm just, I'm 5 blocks from the beach here, okay? I just drive down to the beach.
Throw that in our face.
Well, or go out into the woods or by a lake or a stream, and just open your heart. God is there. There, it's the Holy Land is everywhere, okay?
Behind a tree, under a rock.
Exactly. It is all
in a parking lot.
In a parking lot, even there. Even there. It is Holy Land wherever you are.
So optimistic, Candace. I'm going to go, like right now, after this podcast, I'm going to go down to my local bar and just hang out in the parking lot and just.
Well, to hang out anywhere you want to. It's what's in your heart, okay? Is your heart open to connection? It doesn't matter where you are. You can be in the middle of a business meeting. Is your heart open to connection? Of course, it helps.
Part of my heart, yes, is open for connection. It's open for business. All right, check this out, Candace. We towards the end of our shows, we do a little tongue-in-cheek moment where we call it round of shots, where we throw 6 questions at you to kind of get to know you better. It's kind of a quick Q&A. Just have fun with it.
Give her some good ones, Kevin.
Yeah, it won't be anything that you'll hang up the phone on and refuse to ask or anything like that. So, not this time.
Save that for the next show.
Yeah, Candace, do you like music?
I love music.
So, if somebody grabbed your iPod or music media player, whatever you use to listen to music, what would be the song currently playing right now?
It would be something on a smooth jazz track or Kenny G like Maxo Man by Foreplay, something like that. Something light and joyful.
Which would probably mean that would make my glass of wine taste even better. That's how I would say it.
There you go. Your wine, yeah. Absolutely.
My wine and that kind of music, yeah. Smooth.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Goes really well.
It does. Have you had any wine tonight?
Yes, I have. About drinking? A fifth of a glass.
Okay.
Uh-oh, we kept her from her glass. That's not good.
No.
A fifth of a glass.
Candace, you didn't get the memo. The memo is every time I say the word God, you had to do a shot.
Oh, sorry.
You forgot the memo.
Yeah, I didn't get the memo. No.
All right.
That's
all right.
Okay.
So you'll know the rules the next time. Okay. What would be a Candace pet peeve? Something that just drives you crazy.
Something that drives me crazy. I don't know. I'm sure there is something.
Not knowing which time zone your show's on.
Yeah, that would be a good pet peeve, Tiffany. Yes. Not a very big pet peeve, but just drives me. That would drive me a little bit batty.
I'm glad you got you on.
Hey, I'm easily confused. That's not fair. Okay.
Nice.
We'll have to send her a shirt, Kevin.
We will. While we're on Candace, a men's shirt, what size would you need?
Probably give me a large.
On a men's?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I've lost enough weight to do a medium. I don't know.
No,
if it's cotton, it'll shrink. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could even do a medium.
Yeah, I'll throw you medium. That's fine. And if anything, if it's still too big, that's your sleep shirt. So.
Yeah, that'll work.
All right. You'll always have a part of me after dark, Candace. Just saying.
Wow, I'm thrilled.
That's the general consensus too. So you're just playing along. What's the next question? If you could choose one superpower, Candace, what would it be?
The power to heal.
Well, wait a minute. This whole healing thing that you got it's already there. Couldn't you humor me and choose a different
yeah, you're already
superpower?
doing that, Candace.
Well, the power to heal physical as well as emotional.
Okay. Oh, she played the physical card on us. Okay.
Yeah, we can take that.
So what you're saying is if I blew out my knee, just wave your hand over my knee and it would be fixed?
Well, I wouldn't so much wave my hand over your knee as I would send it love and it would be fixed. That would be my superpower.
How would you send it love?
I would just simply I would think of your knee, feel for it, and with my heart, and send it, because you can do that. You literally
not with a kiss. Not with a kiss.
Well, I could blow it a kiss, but that would be that would be another way to do it.
Okay.
But again, when you think of someone, you send energy their way. You always do.
Some type of energy. That's correct.
Some type of thought energy. Yes.
Yeah. You're right.
Well, that goes
Tiffany,
into
what are you feeling? What are you feeling from me right now, Tiffany?
I'm feeling that it is 11:46 p.m. on a Friday, and you are not done with your round of shots. So.
Yeah. Okay. The next question, I said guilty pleasure. What's your favorite phone app?
My favorite phone app? Yeah. Well, seeing as how I just got a smartphone about 6 weeks ago, it's my first smartphone. I'd have to say my favorite phone app is Solitaire.
Okay.
I used to be addicted to Solitaire. Yeah, it's a hard thing to get away from.
Yeah, it's just like every so often I have to pick up the phone or my tablet and play solitaire because I just have to chill my mind.
You just try to do you try to beat your time?
No, I have probably the worst time and everything. I mean, I can't even. I just feel I celebrate if I actually win the game. Okay, I mean, I don't try not to look at the score because it's embarrassing. So I just say, "Hey, I won. That's a victory. Let's take that."
I think the fastest game I ever won was like 46 seconds.
Wow, you're faster than I am. I think my fastest
was really fast. But I'm telling you, it got quick. Yes, I haven't played it since.
Well, keep that one in your record.
Kevin, you said that you did one, but you didn't. It was the guilty pleasures.
What's my guilty pleasure?
What is your guilty pleasure? Yes.
What is my guilty pleasure?
Ours.
Oh, indulging in way too much chocolate. That's my guilty pleasure. Ice cream, chocolate ice cream, chocolate ice cream. That's my guilty pleasure.
How did y'all go back from favorite phone app? What?
I'm asking Candace, do you have Grater's ice cream where you are?
No, we have something called Marianne's ice cream, and it's wonderful.
Okay.
And unfortunately, there's a store very close by.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous thing.
Death to the diet, yes.
Close by because it's only going on 9 your time, right? Mm-hmm. So you still got time to play around as it's hitting the midnight hour here.
That's right, yes, and unfortunately I have ice cream in my freezer, so, like I said, it's my guilty pleasure.
She keeps throwing stuff in our faces, too. I got orange sherbet. I got orange sherbet in my fridge, so just saying. The last round of shots question: if you had access to a time machine and can go anywhere in the past, your living past, the dinosaur past, anywhere, what's those things?
I don't know.
Those Egyptian, the pyramids, anything.
Oh my
the pyramids.
goodness.
Or, maybe she's a fighter and she would do what Russ suggested.
The gladiators.
Pack some guns, go back to the crucifixion, mow down those Romans, and save Jesus. Maybe that's what she wants to do.
That was a good one. That was a good one. I remember that.
No, that's not what I would do. I've also written fiction that is based on some past lives. I don't know how many tens of thousands of years ago this past life was, but I would go back and try to help myself love myself a little better in this past life.
Okay.
Because if I had, I might have had a happier time.
You being you, go back to you at a younger age.
Me and actually that's kind of what we do in some of our therapy. We actually take clients back to their past lives and let their current selves help their past selves.
Really? Okay.
Yes, with greater understanding. And that's what I would try to do.
Interesting. All right, those were the round of shots. Do you feel intoxicated, Candace?
Oh, definitely, intoxicating.
Oh, exactly. I'm winning then.
Well, Candace,
the guy on the show is winning.
That's very rare, by the way, Candace.
Very rare. Screw
Candace,
you, Tiffany.
Can you give our audience the ways to contact you and how to access your lovely, lovely book?
Well, you can definitely buy it online in print, in paperback or ebook format, and you can know more about it.
Amazon.
Amazon, any online bookstore. It was in bookstores. You can order it through a bookstore. If you walk in, they'll order it for you and mail it to your house. You can know more about it by simply going to the website, which is www.thehealingcirclebook.com.
Well, we are truly honored to have you on the show this evening, and your book is spectacular. The content is unbelievable, and anybody that is really looking to reconnect with a loved one or just sort of delve into the spiritual realm, it's a fantastic adventure, and I would definitely recommend it. So please check her out and check out the Afterlife Healing Circle, how anyone can contact the other side.
Thank you, Tiffany,
so much for being on this evening.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Kevin. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too.
One more request, Candace, before I let you go. Ready? You finish this. You can't hurry, love. No.
You can't hurry, love.
No,
you just have to wait.
You just have to wait.
Love. No, you just have to wait.
You just have to wait. She said, love don't come easy.
Come easy. It's a game of give and take.
It's a game of give and take. There we go. We did it. Yay.
She got it.
Thanks, Candace. Candace, you're great.
You too, Kevin. Good night, you both.
Yeah.
Good night.
We'll be in touch.
Okay.
Take care. Solid segment, Tiffany.
Yeah,
right
it
up
was,
your alley.
man. I mean, what was amazing is that we got our story in with Miss Colleen, Queen Colleen, before, and she actually sort of led into Candace's conversation, so that was great.
Right.
At no time were any animals or people hurt during this presentation of Shooting from the Lip.